Hello. Hello. How are you? Good afternoon. It's a beautiful sunny afternoon here in the UK. Please let me know where in the world you're watching from and what the weather's like where you are today. Is it a beautiful, bright, sunny afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you are? Or is it is it overcast? Overcast is when the cloud is covered with cloud. When the sky is covered with cloud, that's overcast. Is it just a little bit cloudy? There's just partial cloud in the sky. Or is it raining? Is it freezing cold? Is it very warm? Is it humid? Let me know. Okay, so I've got a couple of you in already. So today we're going to be looking at phrasal verbs, particularly phrasal verbs that you can use to describe the way that you're feeling. I'm only going to cover 6 phrasal verbs today because phrasal verbs, there's no blanket rules for learning a whole bunch of phrasal verbs all together. You have to learn them one at a time, case by case. And so it's better to learn in smaller chunks to really help you to onboard them. What's really important is to actually use the phrasal verbs, and this goes for any vocabulary, to use it as soon as you come across it. So today's phrasal verbs, when I introduce them, I'd like you to write me a sentence using those phrasal verbs. So I've got a few of you in. Hello, Romelia. Nice to see you. One of my students here. Lovely. I've got quite a few of you saying hello. I've got Ronza in Lebanon. Hi. It's sunny in my country, says Zakil Dean. Hello, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. I've got a lot of blank comments coming up. I'm not quite sure if there's something wrong with my software, but I'm seeing names on comments and no words. So I don't know what that's all about. Well, let's get started, shall we? So the first phrasal verb on my list is to bottle out. To bottle out. Let me show you this. Bottle. People always, Americans like to make fun of the way that Brits say a bottle of water, a bottle of water. But what they're actually making fun of is not the general English accent. They're making fun of more particularly the southern, London accent. Bottle of water, a bottle of water. That's how you might hear someone in London say bottle of water, a bottle of water. Yeah, they're glottalizing the T, a bottle of water. Okay, so if you bottle out, does anyone know what this means, to bottle out? A similar version of this is to chicken out. That might help you with this. So I bottle out. If I lose my bottle and I bottle out of something, it means that I become nervous or scared, or for some reason I decide not to go through with, there's another phrasal verb, not to do something that I was supposed to do. For example, if I was going to do a bungee jump, I was going to go to the top of a very high cliff, attach myself to a bungee and jump off, boing, boing, boing. And on the day of the bungee jump, I decide I can't do it. I'm just too scared. Maybe I even get to the top of the cliff and they attach the bungee, but I just can't jump off. Then you would say, Anna has bottled out. Anna has bottled out. I would say, I'm bottling out. I can't do it. I'm bottling out. So it's when you decide that you can't go through with something, that you can't commit to something you'd promised or had intended to do, usually because of nervousness or fear, you decide that you need to bottle out. So tell me, have you ever bottled out of doing something? When I was a child, my mum would regularly sign me up for talent competitions. She would try to get me on the stage to do singing or poetry reading or I don't know, all sorts of different things, dances, and I would often bottle out. I wanted to be on the stage, but I would get scared and I would bottle out. Romelia, you said bottle out. So you'd say you bottle out of a wedding. So if you bottle out of a wedding, if you are the bride or the groom, then you are jilting your your um your fiance. Your there's another word for it. Well, you leave them at you we'd say you left them at the altar. I can't believe you left them at the altar, you jilted them. Um, but there is another phrase for bottling out of a marriage, bottling out of getting married. And yes, it is a terrible thing, but I think better to make the decision late rather than actually get married and then decide that you're miserable and make everyone miserable and then have to go through a divorce or live your life miserable. Okay. What else do we have? All right, other questions. Questions not related to the topic. So I'm going to stick to questions related to the topic or anyone offering a example sentence. Let's practice together, guys. So bottle out was the first one. The next one is to bring out. To bring out. Now, if someone or something can bring out a certain trait in me, a certain behavior or a characteristic. For example, I might say, and this is a nice way of using it, my children bring out the best in me. My children bring out the best in me. My children bring out the best in me. Because my children make me patient, they make me fun, they make me see the beauty in everything, they make me kind and resilient. So they bring out the best in me. Does anyone bring out the best in you? Maybe you want to tag them right now. Say, this person brings out the best in me. Let them know that they have a really good impact on you. Now, some people are completely opposite. Some people bring out the worst in you, don't they? We've all experienced that. When we're around a certain person, when they behave in a certain way, it just makes you a worse version of yourself, maybe more angry or impatient or intolerant. I definitely had a friend in the past who always brought out the worst in me. They made me pessimistic, very negative. When I was with that person, I realized I was always complaining and I wasn't my happy, positive self. So I realized that maybe I shouldn't continue to spend time with this person because they brought out the worst in me. Okay. So, has anyone got an example sentence? No, I can't see any. Okay, so we've had bottle out and bring out. Okay, the next one is tire out. If someone tires you out or something tires you out, it's very simple. It just means it makes you feel tired. So I could say, gymnastics tires me out. Or I could say, doing several pronunciation assessments in one afternoon tires me out. It tires me out. You can equally say, it makes me tired. But often we use the phrasal verb, it tires me out. You could even make the statement, I'm completely tired out. I'm tired out. Okay. So what tires you out? I can tell you, having two young children tires me out. That's something I was never prepared for. How tiring it is to have young kids and as well as working. Um, Manuel, you've gone back to bring out. Don't bring out this task now. Please cut the okay. You fire away. Okay, so here, Manuel, you've used a different. So the thing is with phrasal verbs is a lot of phrasal verbs have multiple meanings depending on the context. And in this case, you've used bring out to mean introduce. Yeah, so don't introduce this task now. Because slightly different meaning. But thank you for allowing me to make that point that one phrasal verb can have multiple meanings. It's really important. Here we go, an example sentence. Social media tires with an S, tires me out. It tires me. It tires me out. Okay. Brilliant. So the next one, we've had bring out, bottle out, and tire out. Now I'm going to do freak out. Freak out. Now, if something freaks you out, then, how do I explain this? If something freaks you out, then you don't like it, you recoil from it. It's freaky. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So you can freak out in different ways depending on the context. Freak out could be to be emotionally very happy. So I won a competition. I'm freaking out. This is amazing. So it's about almost like losing control of your overwhelming emotions. You're freaking out. You can freak out with worry if I lost my house and car key when I'm out, if I ever lost my house key and my car key, if I know that it's dropped out of my pocket or it's been stolen, I would probably freak out. So I'd be like, oh my goodness me, I've lost my car key, I've lost my house key. How am I going to get home? I need to pick up the children from nursery. What am I going to do? So I would be freaking out with worry. Yeah. Or if I came home and found that my partner had made the worst mess ever, he'd allowed the children to paint with gloss paint, which is normally reserved for the woodwork in the house. It's very sticky paint. If he'd allowed the children to play with gloss paint and they were painting the walls and the table and the floor and the windows, I would freak out. And that would be more like anger. So freak out is a release of overwhelming emotion, and the emotion will depend on the context. Okay, when was the last time you freaked out, and what was it that freaked you out? Freak out can also be to be scared. People often freak out when they watch a horror movie or around Halloween when everyone's dressed in scary, freaky clothes and they try and scare people. Okay, so let me just see if there are any example sentences here. Ahmed, thank you for writing an example here for tire out. You've put quarreling, which is a lovely word. We don't use that very often. Quarreling, which means to argue. Quarreling with my sister tires me out. That's perfect. Fantastic. I'm sorry that you quarrel with your sister, but we all do, don't we, with our siblings, our brothers or our sisters. Let me see if there are any other examples here. Yes. Mahmoud, hello. You said my exams are freaking me out. I completely understand. So you're feeling nervous and a bit stressed because you've got exams coming up. Well, try and keep on top of those nerves. Just take a breath. Make sure you rest. Do lots of preparation. Try not to get freaked out. I'm sure you'll do fantastically well. Learning English language freaks me out. Yeah. Well, learning phrasal verbs can be tricky, that's for sure. And English pronunciation is also something that freaks a lot of people out because it's so tough. Let me see. Manuel, you said every time I get on a plane and taking off, it freaks me out. I completely understand you there. I also freak out a little bit when I get on a plane. So, plane, you've written a different version of the word plane. So the version you've used is kind of the opposite of busy. It means very simple, plain. Like I use plain flour, or I'm looking very plain today. I have a pattern on my headband, but I've got a very plain jumper on. So it's not very busy. It's just grey. So I'm plain today. Plane as an aeroplane is plane. Plane. Okay, so just be aware of that one. You put every time I get on a plane, I would change the sentence to make it sound more natural. Every time I get on a plane, I freak out, particularly when it takes off. Every time I get on a plane, I freak out, particularly when it takes off. All right. Any others? I can't see any other options here. Okay. So, what have we had? Bring out, tire out, bottle out, and freak out. Now, I've got two more for you that are really great phrasal verbs, and then I'm going to give you an example with all the phrasal verbs used together. But before I do, let me just let you know that if you do feel freaked out by learning phrasal verbs, then I do have a really super duper way for you to learn phrasal verbs in a fun and relaxed, easy way. All you have to do is commit to learning. I mean, you don't have to do it every day, but in 30 days, I can teach you 300 phrasal verbs if you give me a little bit of time every day. This is my phrasal verb booster course. I have a link to it in the description. So if you're interested in expanding your vocabulary, but in a really easy way, then click on that link and check out my phrasal verb booster. We've got lots of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot that you can take a look at. Loads of students absolutely loved the challenge and came away with lots of phrasal verbs under their belt. If you've got something under your belt, it means that you have acquired it, you've achieved it. It's something you've worked on, and now you have it. So lots of my students have already done the booster and now have lots of phrasal verbs under their belt. And you can too. So click on the link and take a look. Now, the next phrasal verb is to lash out. To lash out. This is a little bit more negative. If someone lashes out, it means that they either physically or verbally, it's like to attack. So if I suddenly start shouting at you, you could say, Anna just lashed out at me. Or if I physically go to hit you, you could say, Anna is lashing out at me. I don't understand. She lashed out at me. But luckily, I ducked and she didn't hit me. So to lash out is to kind of release in an angry way, either try to release a blow or a verbal attack. Sometimes when people have had alcohol and they're angry or depressed, they might start lashing out at random people they don't know, or often when we are feeling down or stressed, we tend to lash out at the people we love the most, don't we? We just start like shouting at them suddenly for no reason. Hopefully not physically lashing out and hitting them. Violence doesn't achieve anything. Okay, so Kadir, you said the regional passport office staff freaked me out today. So that should be they in the past, even though it was today, it was still in the past. So they freaked, ed, and just check the spelling. It's EAK, freaked, and then ed on the end. Freaked me out today. Did you mean regional, or is that a particular passport office spell RE? Ginal. If you mean regional, then it should have an O between I and N. But otherwise, thank you for sending me your example. That was brilliant. Okay, what else? Here we go. My boss lashed me out for coming late. Okay, so I'm just trying to think if there are any occasions when we separate lash out. No, lash out is not a separable phrasal verb, so you cannot separate it. It always has to live together. Lash out, lash out. So my boss lashed out at me. We tend to use at. My boss lashed out at me. My boss was lashing out at everyone. Okay. Oh, here's a nice example. I like this one. The woman, take away had. Oh, I mean, you could use had, but in isolation, I'd have this sentence as the woman lashed out in fear. Or you could have the woman had lashed out in fear, depending on the context. I lashed out at people who don't follow the rules. So if this is a general thing that you do, a general behavior, use the present tense. I lash out at people who don't follow the rules. Okay, so use the present tense there, not the past. Okay, any others that I've missed? If I hadn't given him my cake, he would have lashed out at me. Okay, it's not funny. It's not funny. You shouldn't have to give your cake to someone just through fear of them lashing out at you. But I like the sentence. Thank you very much, and that's great. You've done that perfectly well. Any others? This is the man who lashed out. Again, it's not separable, Manuel. You've separated it here. This is the man who lashed out at me. Lashed out at me yesterday afternoon. I did not see his punch. I was, and you've used the phrasal verb knocked out, but you've used it in the wrong tense. I was knocked out. If you're knocked out, it means you've been made unconscious by an impact. So you're out for the count. He's been knocked out. I dropped my, I think that should be wallet. Wallet is the spelling. I dropped my wallet and I freaked out. And I freaked out. Or, and I was freaking out, if you're going to use was. I lashed out at my wife for scolding the children. That's a good sentence. Well done. All perfectly correct. The new boss of the company lashed out. Have to have that particle. Lashed out at me the day I was 1 hour late for work. Okay, Manuel, you can't separate lash and out. You can't put anything in between. It's lashed out at me. Lashed out at me. You can't put anything in between lash and out. It's not separable. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share with you a little, I say little, something that I wrote that includes all of the, does it let me, yeah. It doesn't let me share it in one, does it? Oh, it does on one. Okay, here we go. That's interesting. Okay, so here it is. Sometimes if I'm run down, that's a phrasal verb which means if I'm feeling unwell or a little bit tired and unwell. Sometimes if I'm run down and the kids have tired me out, that is a separable phrasal verb. It can bring out, so it can create or highlight, bring out the worst in me. I sometimes take it out on my partner, lashing out at him even if he is being nice to me. When this happens, I always apologize. I never bottle out. It's important to maintain a healthy, respectful relationship with your family. I would freak out if my partner ever decided to leave me, so I work hard to look after it. Look after is another phrasal verb which means to take care of something. That's another phrasal verb, to take care. To take care of. So yeah, look after is the caring, being responsible for the well-being of something or someone. Okay, so there I've tried. That's a false sentence. It's not real. It's just a made-up story to try and use all those phrasal verbs in context together so you can see how they work. I do appreciate you joining me today. It's now time for me to wrap up this session. To wrap up is to bring a presentation or a lesson to an end. Please do now spend a moment, just a second, hitting the like button or giving me a heart if you're watching on Facebook. And if you know anyone learning English, I'd hugely appreciate you sharing it with them. That would be wonderful. And like I said, if you're interested in vastly increasing your phrasal verb knowledge in a fun and easy way, then I've done all the hard work. All you have to do is come and join my phrasal verb booster. You can find out more by clicking on the link in the description. I won't be here next Tuesday. Just a little bit of news. I'm normally here on a Tuesday, but I won't be here next Tuesday because I'll be celebrating my partner's birthday. So I'll be away. But I will be live on Thursday of next week instead. So look out for me, and I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful week and weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Take care, everyone.